The father of psychology is Sigmund Freud.
Sigmund Freud.
Leon.
Sigmund Freud.
Freud.
Most people would answer this guy. He was an Austrian neurologist who spoke in 8 languages, the father of modern psychology and psychoanalysis, who developed the theories of the Oedipus complex, penis envy, Freudian slip, the id and ego and superego, the defense mechanisms, the psychosexual stages, fixation, dream analysis, totem and taboo, and his most famous and relevant theory of the subconscious mind. So it's rather interesting that he is not seen as a credible source in nearly all universities around the world. In fact, only 1 in 20,000 American psychologists uses psychoanalysis as a treatment on their patients because it is deemed damaging and dangerous. In studies done by the American Psychologist Association and according to the Australian Psychology Society, psychoanalysis has a lack of evidence of positive results. His daughter followed in his footsteps of psychoanalysis and used the method on the children of her close friend. One was in a state of constant depression and the other committed suicide in her early 20s. Freud's, or rather Fraud's, scientific experiments are questionable at best, as exposed in his documents and letters that were released in 2005 from the Freud Museum. And in his documents, it was observed that he was changing his patients' abusers to fathers in order to fit in with his Oedipus theory, the one where you are sexually attracted to the parent of the opposite sex while being angry at the parent of the same sex. Frederick Crews, who wrote a book on Freud, found that Freud had falsified most of his findings and purposefully left out details in his diagnosis to suit his theories. He took credit of patients who got better after they stopped seeing him, such as the case of Anna O, who got better in 8 months. He was nominated for the Nobel Prize 12 times. However, the committee sent in an expert and found that Freud's work was of no scientific work. Many of Freud's own patients stated that Freud had not cured them of their ailments and instead gave them a false diagnosis. An example is the Wolf Man, who was a Russian merchant who had dreams of white wolves waiting on a tree outside his window. And Freud claimed that this was trauma that resulted from him seeing his parents having sex as an infant. Seems fair, right? But things get a little shady when one of his patients committed suicide after Freud had convinced him to divorce his wife and to marry another woman who would donate large amounts of money to Freud once she married the other man. Some of his theories were even created while under the influence of cocaine. He wrote the Cocaine Papers, where he was his own test subject on the substance, and he recommended it to his friends and students. One of his friends died of overdose. Freud even believed that psychoanalysis was not meant to cure people, but only to make them aware of their subconscious desires, which is seen in a letter to one of his students. So why do we still talk about Freud? Well, in his time, he was seen as very progressive and brought psychology to the forefront, as he was charismatic and a great marketer for his theories. Many of his theories were not popular at first, so he integrated them with a Greek story. Now, we know the Greek stories are filled with layers of meaning, known as rhetoric, the art of persuasion. The things he spoke about were radical, which attracted a wide audience to the notions of the subconscious, which is still relevant to this day. Most of his clients were upper-class aristocrats who were very conservative, and hearing these ideas from someone who was very charismatic, they soaked them all up. The thing is, though, his crazy theories made psychologists and scientists stand up and challenge them and elevated the science of psychology further, as many people didn't agree with him and found that he had a lack of evidence to support his theories. Therefore, they went and thought up new theories that had more evidence. It created a stricter code of what qualifies as a theory and not an assumption. So, in truth, Sigmund Freud is the father of psychology.